If you're looking for the best clothing deals in Salt Lake County, one place stands out for the price, quality, and the selection, and that's Zalzo. Zalzo is your destination for up to 70% off premium and mid-luxury brands every single day. Tucked just off of 3900 South in Murray, Zalzo carries the brands you actually want to wear at the prices you're happy to pay. Run over to our store today and see for yourself the weekly updates to the always impressive and expansive inventory of both adult and children's clothing. While you're here, don't forget to check out the weekly markdown racks with even steeper deals. Stuck on a work call? Go to Zalzo.com, that's ZALLZO.com for information and a listing of in-store deals. Zalzo, you'll come in just to look, but we know you'll leave hooked.
As our coach said, it's going to be a dogfight, but we are ready for that, and it's 90 minutes, we need to give everything, so yeah, we need to be locked in.
At the end of the day, the fans would see it, no? We've been trying to represent them on the pitch, and we are going to give our 100% every single game for them. And
can't wait to get back and put on, the RSL jersey and in front of the fans that have been amazing support. Without them, without RSL, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now, so I'm extremely grateful and I'm excited.
What's up, RSL Nation?
Welcome to the Royal Riot.
Salvas gets it away. Catranes, the square ball. Diego Luna! It's Diego Luna now trying to turn. Luna! Oh, it's in! What a goal! A lot of space for Johnny Russell. Johnny Russell! His first start for Real Salt Lake. His first goal for Real Salt Lake. One hole! Magnificent from Real Salt Lake. And Noel Kaliskan with the best goal he's probably ever scored.
Oh, turns, overlap on the right side. Gonzalez! Yes!
Brian Ojeda. Here's a Ghana, third time. Is it a charm? Malagon, Luna! Yes! Cabral has been insatiable in goal. Zuniga now! Cabral, the hero! Man, this guy's good! They have found a keeper in Salt Lake City!
Welcome in, everybody, for a new episode of Royal Riots. I am not Hayden, again, because he doesn't even love podcasting. He doesn't like talking about Real Salt Lake. He doesn't love us enough to be here. But I will say that probably there will be a follow-up episode that Hayden will be on and preview the Inter-Miami match that the greatest of all time is coming to Salt Lake City. So that's a pretty big deal. But LD, Jimmy, and I were reviewing the San Diego game that was action-packed. So we first have LD. LD, how you doing?
What's up, David? I'm doing good, man. Feeling good after yesterday's game. Excited to talk about that. Yeah, just to let all of our listeners know, this is a big game week. We have 3 games within the span of 7 days. And so we decided to accommodate, the podcast was nice enough to accommodate my schedule really this week. And we decided to split it up to where we could give each game we feel like it's due diligence. I think this game that we just had deserves a decent amount of spotlight on it. So that's what we'll be talking about today. And then you should be expecting another episode here very, very soon, previewing the next matches. So we're excited for that. But I'm excited to have the opportunity to be with you again, David. But not only that, we got our boy Jimmy on the podcast this week. What up, Jimbo? How's it going?
What's up? Good. It's going great. So I'll be for this first part. I probably won't be for the second part, obviously. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. Like you guys said, RSL is doing great. Who would have thought that Pablo will be having this much success this early, right? Especially with the players that he has been putting in.
Yeah, of course. No, I'll go into it later, but I'm honestly shocked with Real Salt Lake right now. Like, thinking that we've only lost one time this season, it kind of felt unreal. I was going into the San Diego match like, this is the one we lose. Like, we're too high right now on the mountain. Like, someone has to bring us down. And San Diego is a good team. So this result, 4-2, for those listeners that didn't watch the match on Saturday.
Spoiler alert.
And just listens to the pod. Doesn't really pay attention to the results. Wants to hear our amazing voices and horrible opinions. But it was a great result. But
Well,
overall,
David,
I will say,
I was going to say, going off of that, like, you not expecting, RSL maybe to pull this game off. Like, they also had just the break in momentum going against them, right? Like, they've been playing well, break. And then, they're supposed to have another game. And then because, the league favors Seattle. No, just kidding. I mean, I get you have to work things out, as best as you can as the league. But, like, it kind of sucked that we had to get a game taken away from us. One game less for Diego Luna to prove himself to try and get to the U.S. men's national team for this upcoming World Cup this summer. But you have one less game taken out of your schedule. So then that also disrupts your flow of playing well. And so, yeah, like this San Diego game would have been an easy game where you could have kind of found the excuse of like, oh, well, we were playing really well, but like because we kind of had a weird flow in our schedule, like that's kind of why we didn't end up, doing our best and potentially losing. But no, dude, this RSL team was like, forget that, man. Like, we play how we play. This is the team that we're having this season. It doesn't matter if it's Noah Caliscan or Stein Spearings or Griffin Dillon or Luca Moisa or Victor Latunji or Sergi Sola. Like, it doesn't matter who's on the squad and playing on the pitch at that given match. Like, we are going to be playing the way that we're going to play, and that's balling out right now. So I'm excited to go over this San Diego match because there's going to be plenty of positives to talk about. I think there's plenty of things that we can be critical of as well. And we'll get to that, especially from the defensive side of things. But like, man, what a time it is to be an RSL fan, and what an awesome game to really stamp your just what you expect your team to be this season to the rest of the league.
Yeah, for sure. And if you look at the table too, it's one loss. Like, I feel like in the Western Conference, you are now getting the teams separated a little bit more of the mixed batch. Like, they get good results and bad results. The bad batch, which Sporting Kansas City, St. Louis is running away with the wooden spoon so far. And really, I think the top 5 you see are all pretty much the elite teams. Vancouver, San Jose Earthquakes, and at this time of the recording, they just beat Los Angeles 4-1. That was insane. I actually did not predict that. I thought Los Angeles is a very strong team, but they do have champions as well. So obviously Los Angeles and Seattle, they've had some games that they've had to play extra, but Seattle and us, Real Salt Lake. But yeah, let's go into the game play by play. Honestly, you don't have to go far into the highlight reel to see our first goal. So really, you have Diego Luna, the guy who needs to get a goal for Pochettino, get a goal in, I believe, the 4th minute. It says the 5th minute right here, but it was around the 4th minute. And it was really just the San Diego goalkeeper. The press was great by Real Salt Lake. Not just Luna himself, but you could see that Morgan and Sergi were at like the perfect positions to force kind of just that like gap in thought for the San Diego goalkeeper. I always like mispronounce his last name, but I know, so I'm not even going to say it. But yeah, it was a really simple goal for Luna in the 4th minute. I was still getting my seats. It was an amazing way to start this game. Jimmy, I'm just going to go to you first. How did you love that Diego Luna goal?
Good. It's kind of like Pablo has talked a lot about consistency this season, right? And how the momentum is building from what you start off and how you do it throughout the Monday to Friday, he says, right? That's how we work. And then and there's something that they work on throughout the whole week. Being in practice, they pressure every single time the same way that they pressure, and that lead to a goal. And obviously, they don't show it in the camera, but even Pablo was like surprised when he saw that ball going in. He was just like, watch. And I have a video of that, and I might post it later. But like, Pablo's just arm crossed.
Please post that.
He's just arm crossed, looking, just peeking. He's telling the people to press. And all of a sudden, you just see Pablo go, his arms go up and starts like, punching the air and stuff. And the whole time, Pablo is just, and again, I saw Pablo a lot more than I shouldn't have this game. The whole time, Pablo is just asking them to press every single time they have it. And he loves that. And then there was a couple couple times where like even after the second goal, there's again Pablo is communicating with Noel. He's telling him like, "Hey, you're leaving these guys open. You're not supposed to go up. You're supposed to stay here. Let Stein go up. You're like more of a recovery guy." Anyways, he's doing all these things, and then on the second goal, same thing. He's just watching, and he's just tactically moving with them, which I think is awesome to see Pablo how he's tactically adjusting what he sees and how the players are accepting that as well, which goes to the success that we're having this early too.
Yeah, but Jimmy, like also going off of that, like Diego Luna has a lot to credit Pablo for the way that he plays from that aspect of things, right? When it comes to how defensive he is and his tenacity with like every play when he's on the pitch. Like if you remember, a big reason when we brought Diego Luna in, there was a lot of just not expectations because he wasn't expected to come in and obviously be like a guaranteed starter, but with what he was doing in the USL and the potential he had, like people were very high on this kid on what he could potentially do in MLS, right? And if you guys remember, he had a really slow start with his team. Like he wasn't getting minutes. There was frustration on his end. I mean, we were interviewing him on the podcast when he first joined the team, and you could see it in him. Like he was flustered with kind of the amount of appearances, the amount of minutes he was getting on the field. He wasn't being like super negative or toxic or anything, but he was, definitely expressing that he was waiting for his opportunity and he was just going to keep working hard. And, I think we've seen from other past interviews that Pablo has given is that like he'd had sit downs with Diego and said like, "Hey, here's the deal, man. I know you're gifted with the ball. I know you can be an offensive talent. And I know that you have all the potential in the world to be great." But he basically told him like, "You're not going to get anywhere if you don't learn how to defend and if you don't learn how to give it all or give it your all every single minute of the game," right? And Pablo had been working on that with him since he's been on the team. And I think that, like, not that Diego Luna didn't put in the hard work himself, right? Like, he's done everything to get himself to this point. But, like, Pablo Mastroeni was very influential in Diego Luna being this type of player. And you can see it because this is the type of guy Pablo Mastroeni expects his players to be, but also the kind of player he was when he was playing. And so when I saw that goal happen, all I could think of was Pablo Mastroeni, outside of Diego Luna, is probably the most happy person on this field right now because it's the exact example of what you want. I know it's an easy goal because, yeah, the goalkeeper made a mistake, right? He shouldn't have played it on that narrow of an angle with Diego Luna pouncing down on him, but it's what happens when teams start playing out of the back of the field. Like you're expected to give that pressure, and so like Diego Luna was doing his job, and he did his job well. And remember, Pochettino had a lot of reasons of why he included Diego Luna on past U.S. rosters, and it's because of his work rate and then the way that he's a spark in the attack, right? Well, guess what? Last game, he showed his spark that he is in the attack when he scored his awesome goal from outside the 18 with his left foot. This game, he's showing the way that he can impact a roster by just showing his tenacity and being committed. And so that's what I was thinking about when he scored this goal, man. Mauricio Pochettino was probably ecstatic, outside of Pablo Mastroeni as well, right? About Diego Luna getting a goal like this, because this is something that the U.S. men's national team could absolutely benefit from. So Diego Luna is only continuing to stack the reasons of why he should be included on the roster. And it was just so awesome to see it at such a quick start for this game because it got the whole stadium buzzing. It had the team buzzing. And we'll see, obviously, with the very oncoming minutes, what that led to.
And just to piggyback off of that, I think what you said is like Pablo doesn't get enough credit because of that. He put Aiden Hezarkani for the last 10 minutes to give him continuity of what he has been doing from the past games, right? Up to his injury. And Aiden didn't make a run. And Pablo was like furious, and Pablo was like yelling him like, "Why the heck are you not making the run? These are like the taxes that I told you about, like you got to make the run." And all Aiden did was like raise his arms, and then in practice I'm sure it wasn't hinted at him, but like after press box he talked about how he was not happy with the way some players came in today. He said the work ethic wasn't there, and that needs to be worked on. And if we want to be a team that's going to win titles, everybody has to give me that 100% when it comes off. So even like you said, the development with Diego, he's doing that with Sergi, he's doing that with Hersekani, he's doing that with Dylan Griffin, Luca Moisa. He talks about these guys and what he sees on them and why they have gotten some minutes already in the MLS being a pro team.
Sure. I'll say it right there too. Sergi Solans has to credit. Well, it's hard, but I do think he has to credit a little bit of his success right now to Pablo Mastroeni, because I would say we have 30 teams in MLS. I would say probably 23 of those coaches would probably put Victor in over Sergi Solans, no matter how good Sergi Solans is doing, right? And then we saw last year with like giving Gozo minutes at the end of last year. It's like, oh, well, you have options. Why aren't you playing them? Like, why are you benching your DP, Dogo? And Pablo I think that he develops players very well. And I want to go back to the lineup to talk about this, but he really does well with having players like stay on the pitch when they're playing well, honestly. And the player that was going to stay on the pitch was a healthy scratch at the last moment was Philip Quinton, and he was going to play. And I actually advocated this on the last podcast that Philip Quinton should be starting until he makes like a horrible error or has a really bad game. But sadly, it was just kind of like, I think they just said soreness in the Achilles or something like that. In the press conference with Pablo, it didn't make it sound like Philip was gonna be out for a long time. But anyways,
he's actually getting an MRI today, as far as I was aware, because they weren't sure if it was his Achilles and there was another. I actually have it here. Let me see if I can find it, or if it was something else. And so Achilles is fine, and I guess this is breaking news. Achilles is fine. Injury is the plantaris. I don't know if you guys can help with that.
His plantaris?
Yeah,
Okay.
which is a small calf muscle next to the tendon of the Achilles. So he's doing an ultrasound today. It shows the Achilles is not damaged, it's just that. So I don't know how they're going to work with that. It doesn't give any time frame or anything. He's going to be that, but his Achilles is fine for everyone wondering. And
that's great.
It was corrected yesterday to a press after Pablo said that.
Great. I do want to, and again, I forgot to talk about the lineup, but Cabral was in goal. He came up big a few times at the end of this game. We have Engel, Glad, who I thought did solid shifts, and then Yedlin, who is going to go against his former team on Wednesday. So I really actually did like that Yedlin got some minutes prior to a big game on Wednesday. Then we had Catranis, which Sanabria was out on visa. He is now back with the team, I believe. But we have 3 games in 7 days. So I think that was great to play Alex this past Saturday. And then Stein Spearings, Noel Caliscan, Xavier Gozo, and then your top 3, Morgan Gilavogi, Sergi Salons, which we will talk about in length this episode. And then, of course, Diego Luna, who did get us that first goal in about the 4th minute. Honestly, that goal was amazing. Just final thoughts on it. It is a great way to start the match. I think that Pochettino sees that Diego Luna thinks of every moment as opportunity. When he played for the U.S. men's national team, it was the same. Like, there was U.S. men's national team players that kind of just put their heads down or like just didn't bring that same energy. And Diego Luna does have that, okay, like most times a goalkeeper is not going to make that mistake. And most times that ball is not going to land to your feet. And most times it's not a goal. But if you're on the pitch and you're playing, you can make an opportunity out of that, which he does. It doesn't take him long to also get on the score sheet because he plays a fantastic ball to Sergi Salons in the 6th minute. Okay, so this just comes from, I believe, the bottom left corner, and Luna just places a great, perfect ball to Sergi Salons. I was in section 35, so I was behind the play. I kind of thought it was offsides for a minute, but I think the play was just going pretty fast. And then Salons just like heads it right at the keeper, and the keeper almost gets it, really, too. Closes down space rather quickly, but it just trickles in to that kind of near the post. But how do you guys feel? Right in the 6th minute, we have Sergi Salons doubling our lead. How do you feel about that, LD?
Okay, so first off, I just want to talk about how beautiful the buildup was in this goal and how influential, and we're going to get to this guy because we're going to celebrate that he notched his first goal in the back of the net this game. But it shows how influential Morgan Gilavogi is in this attack without necessarily having the numbers to back it up, if that makes sense from a goals perspective, right? But that ball gets played into Morgan. He's probably about 10, 12 yards outside the 18. And he does that nasty flick to Sergi. Sergi plays that ball back to Morgan and then immediately starts making that approach towards goal, towards the 18. Morgan plays a fantastic ball out to Diego, finds him perfectly on the corner of that 18. And what you guys have to realize is from a defensive standpoint, when you're in the defensive line or even in that defensive midfield position, when the ball gets switched, you're automatically looking to transition to the other side of the field as a player, right? Because the ball gets transitioned over, so you're trying to provide coverage, right, to where the ball's going. So that switch over to Diego is already drawing defenders over to that part of the field, right? Which makes it that much better for Sergi Solange, who's making that run to the back post, to have a decent look at a header if that ball is played immediately back across. Because if you're thinking about it, right, you're trying to be as proactive as you can as a defender, but most of the time you have to react to whatever you're seeing, right? And so with that fast of a play where Morgan is able to switch the field over to the right to Diego, in your mind as a defender, you're starting to shift over your attention to them. And then immediately Diego gets that ball, looks at Sergi, picks him out. And now as a defender, you're kind of like, trying to figure out who's on the other side of you again, now that you've just transitioned from that way. And again, there you go. A perfect delivered ball to Sergi Solange. Heads that ball down into the ground, which is exactly what you want to do in that situation. Obviously, it goes off the keeper into the goal. It was a fantastic finish. I just thought, like, this just showed not only did they take the momentum from what Diego Luna was able to do in the first few minutes to score that first goal, but they did it with, like, just such a nice buildup and being able to include that attack. And it just shows how dangerous it is when you have Sergi Solange, Morgan Guilavogi, Diego Luna, Xavier Gozo, all just, like, firing on all cylinders. Like, it was just such a beautiful buildup to that goal. And we're just scoring in so many cool and different ways and fun and entertaining ways, right? Like, you can call the Diego Luna kind of like a sloppy goal from the other team standpoint, right? But still, just being able to score a goal off of a fluke, quote unquote, but just because you're being tenacious and aggressive, but then to also score a goal immediately after off of a beautiful buildup from a lot of your prime attacking players that you want to see involved in that goal. It was just so awesome to see. And I think that's why everyone is so hyped up. I mean, you're going to be hyped up going 2-0 regardless, but 2-0 in the first 6 minutes, Diego Luna has just scored a goal, and then he landed a beautiful assist to Sergi Solange. I put a tweet out there, but, like, Pochettino was probably watching that game being like, all right, I'm convinced. Like, I'll put him on the roster. So I'm hoping that's what he was doing. But yeah, just an awesome goal to witness that soon after Diego Luna's goal, obviously.
Yeah. And I will say, too, one of the players that I think also contributes to that goal is Gozo. Because Verhoeven, I think that was the left back for San Diego. I watched this all night. He had instructions to be in very close to Xavier the entire night. And what he did in that goal, Gozo, he got more central. And so Verhoeven came with him, and that space for Luna, he had so much more time than I would say if a left back was playing in that, I would say, just section of the pitch more than Verhoeven was, because he was getting pulled left and right by Xavier Gozo the entire match. So Xavier has made a name for himself that you have to be on him, honestly, to stop him from having one-on-one opportunities, which I will say, Xavier Gozo didn't have as many one-on-ones as previous matches. He only had, I think, one in the second half, which he then, like, gives to Morgan, and Morgan hits the post, right? But we're up 2-0. It's the perfect start, right, for a game coming back from a gap week against a team that didn't have a gap week. So that was what I was worried about, was kind of a slow start. But Jimmy, how do you feel overall, this 2-0 start over San Diego, how the team kind of came back into MLS play?
Well, I guess a little spoiler alert, having the 2 weeks off did play a factor into the players, and they talked about it, and Paulo talked about it later in press conference, and he mentioned it that Sergi mentioned in press that within the first 20 minutes, he was already gassed. He was like, the elevation is playing a factor too for him and still. So in the first 20 minutes, he was tired. But to answer your question, I think Pablo said it best. It was the game of two halves. You know, the players were excited. And then one of my questions to Pablo was, do you like better the execution or the mentality that the players had today? And he just referred to say, well, it's two games at two halves. You know, the first half they were able to control it. We were all pleased. It was amazing football. And Pablo said he wasn't a coach at the first half. He was a fan of how RSL was playing with the ball, where they control it. And then because of the 2-week break, you know, mistakes happened in the second half, and it seemed like the team never really was able to control the game to what they did in the first half. And that leads to that soft goal that they had with the PK. And I guess we'll talk more about it later. But overall, I think the team was excited to play. It was excited to get back into the rhythm and excited to be back in the competition of MLS. And I'm glad they did that within the first half. And now they know. And now I guess I like it because the second half was a little realization moment. Like, hey, we cannot take the pedal off the gas. We have to kill these games, and luckily they were able to kill them. Where before, I think like if we're going up this much and a half, like 1 or 2 seasons ago, in the back of my mind is like something's gonna happen. That they're either gonna tie the game or they're gonna turn around this score. But I think with the caliber of players we have, I think we have this luxury of just, if a sub comes in, you have like the subs they happen, right? You take Sergi, you have Victor. He's great with the ball. He can give you an opportunity to score. You take out Diego, what Hersakani can do, and you become a Hershey County fan so far. So, and with Quinton, then you have Yedlin there. So you're not really worried about the subs coming in anymore, which is a great luxury to have now this season.
Yeah, of course. I will say, too, it was 2-0, 15th minute. That was shattered, split in half by 2-1. Marcus Ingvarsson. Okay. I tried my best on that last name. But capitalize on a setup from Lewis Morgan. Okay. That, I would say, I've been a fan of Lewis Morgan, honestly, his entire MLS career. He started out, I believe, in Miami. I don't know if he started in Miami for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
that's
think it
his
was
first
Miami.
club. Yeah, then he went to New York, of course. He did great at New York, and honestly, I thought it was a solid pickup for San Diego to get him this last off season. And they did say on the broadcast, which was surprising, that this is like the first game that I believe Morgan, Marcus, and Andres Dreyer were on the pitch at the same time. So they've been dealing with injuries as well, but a lethal front three. And when we look at the goal, we just kind of have to run it back a little bit. But what you can see too is that Yedlin gives a little bit too much space if you see it. And before the goal, by the way, there was a Sergi Salone's one-on-one that he didn't make, but all is forgiven later, I would say, in the match. But yeah, really.
Well, and real quick on that, David, I almost want to chime on it, but like it was an impressive give and go that he did with Diego Luna. He gives the ball to Diego Luna at basically midfield. It might even been a little bit behind midfield, and just sprints his heart out into like towards the 18. And Diego Luna plays that ball, and he beats out. Is it Dua that's their defender that he beats out? That guy's fast. Whoever that guy is, I can't remember what his last name is, but like those defenders aren't like slow defenders; they're quick defenders. And he was beating them out, and he ends up getting on the back of it. Obviously, doesn't finish it. Keeper makes a good save. He probably could have placed it a little bit better, but like just the fact that like this guy is all over the place, like giving it all out. So like I gave him a little bit of forgiveness because he was a big reason of that opportunity even like occurring because of that awesome give and go. And Diego Luna just played a fantastic ball to him as well. But I just had to give him his flowers on that, even though he didn't score that goal.
Yeah, I mean, he's the big reason why we won this game overall. Sergi Salones was the man of the match if you look at FOTMob and MLS.com. But yeah, those defenders were definitely flat-footed on that play. But right afterwards, okay, San Diego do tie it up. From what I'm seeing, and I'm trying to like look at the highlights right now, is that Yedlin just wasn't close enough to Lewis Morgan. Like that ball was played in very well to Morgan, but I don't know, Yedlin and Glad were just like they gave him too much space, like the perfect amount of window to just get his foot on it and then pass it to Marcus. And he really had an open net, nothing that Rafael Cabral could do about it. And then it's 2-1. That was you still got to be in this match. Nothing's over. But then again, similar to the second goal, but this time served by Xavier Gozo, comes on the same side and serves in a ball, and Sergi Salones just rises up, puts it away. I would say it's the clean header, but a little bit better than the first Sergi Salones goal, and makes it 3-1 RSL. And I was amazed at that point. 4 goals in one half is pretty good for a soccer fan. How did you like I would just say, going and hitting the ball in dangerous areas on the flanks and whipping them in and having a striker that could finish them? So how did you like that, LD, that Sergi could finish that ball, not just he scored a lot of goals with his feet, but with his head this time, twice.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job, David, by the way. I just wanted to bring up a few things before that. There was also a really good opportunity that Morgan Guilavogi had with Diego Luna. They combined in the box a little bit. It was a really great combination. They were kind of swissing their way through defenders. Gilavogi has a really good opportunity at that right near post. Good save by the defender. And then Gilavogi gets another chance at the top of the box where he tries to kind of curl that to the near post as well. And it's just outside the 18. So it was just cool to see. Obviously, there's a lot that happened in this game, so it's really hard to cover everything. And that's why I said you're doing a good job, because really we got to hit the key points. But I just wanted to bring that up because this team was literally going at San Diego relentlessly. We had a lot of potential to put the ball in the back of the net is what I wanted to say. I also loved how involved Diego Luna was this whole game. And again, I think it continues to plant his flag on why he should be in the U.S. men's national team this summer. But what I loved about this goal, and I think it kind of goes unnoticed, but there was a little bit of pinging around the box with Diego and Gozo, but there's a point where San Diego takes possession and Stein Spearings comes in and bodies off the San Diego defender and takes the ball away to recreate that possession. And then he ends up playing it to one of our center back, or maybe it was Yedlin. And that's when Yedlin passes it off to Gozo. Gozo passes it off to Solans, and Solans puts that in inner post with his head. But this is one of those things where it's everybody on this team is just playing such a huge role in these goals happening. That play probably gets overlooked on what Stein Spearings does, but we just saw how San Diego scored on us on that counter attack, right? They literally just made the game 2-1 off a play like that. When we lose possession in the box and San Diego gets that possession, there is potential for another counterattack to occur. And Stein Spearings has the foresight to not only close down the angle of that defender or midfielder to keep him from making a forward pass, but then he quickly cuts into the player's box or personal space, if you want to say that, and bodies them off to take that possession back. And so there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, if you want to say that, happening to lead up to that goal. And that's what I love about this team right now, is that everybody's playing their part in scoring this goal. Stein Spearings isn't going to be the one that's being highlighted and making the celebration in the corner after the goal is scored. Obviously, that's Solans because of the beautiful finish, and deservedly so. But you need to look at those little things that's happening from the other players on the field, because it's just true beauty what this team is doing, being able to pull the strings, working with one another to make these goals happen. Because that goal, frankly, doesn't happen if Spearings doesn't dispossess that defender and put the ball back into our possession to eventually go back out to the right side to serve that ball in, and for Sergi Solans to put the ball in the back of the net. But again, another assist from Gozo, man. Gozo is also continuing to make that narrative of people bringing up should we put him on the team? Should we put him on the national roster for the U.S. men's team this World Cup? It's just such a cool time to be an RSL fan, man. And these goals are just a reflection of that right now. So that's, again, how I was feeling as I was watching this game, is man, Diego Luna's balling out, Sergi Solans is balling out, Xavier Gozo's balling out, our midfielders are balling out. It's just awesome to continue to see time in and time out right now with this team.
And not even that, I think even our bench is bowling out. When you have, like I said earlier, when you have the luxury to be Victor Olatunji, Eden Hezekani, you have to bring Sam in, and yet you still don't have your full 11 starters. Alex was there replacing Sanabria. Dietlin was there, who was replacing Quinton. I guess that could be an argument that who starts there. But again, RSL has this luxury with these players that you're not worried about the stuff that is coming in anymore.
Of course. I do want to call out too, or I don't know, give kudos to Yedlin. He also makes a run during that goal that kind of makes the San Diego players hesitant of approaching Gozo, which gives Gozo more time to then make that, assist. So really, really good start for Real Salt Lake, and they top it in the first half with Morgan Gilavogi. Now, Sergi Solans could have had a hat trick right here. Honestly, there was a couple moments in that I would say run that he did that I was like, dude, you can get a shot off. You can get a shot off right now. This goalkeeper, first off, is probably having one of the worst days in his career so far. You can just get a shot off, see what happens. But he drags these defenders really close and then plays it back to Morgan. Morgan has probably one of the easiest goals that he has to do in his career. And finally, our DP attacker. Remember, no DP has scored for this team thus far this season, has scored 4-1 Real Salt Lake. I'm so happy for Morgan, honestly. He's deserved it. I think it's a conversation that we've been talking about for about 3 weeks now. It's he looks good, like he's doing things, but you ultimately need to be on the score sheet. And we even talked about it, LD, is like, are we fine if he's not like scoring, even though that we're getting results? It's good to get the results and to get a DP that probably got a monkey off his back. Really. That is one of those things that can affect an attacker in the headspace. So I really liked that Morgan got his goal and that we go into the half 4-1. How did you feel about that? Our guy Morgan getting his first Real Salt Lake goal.
You go first, Jimmy.
It was great. I think when he celebrated, he came to the sideline. I was actually on my knees recording that goal. I was in the field that game.
Cool. That's awesome.
And he came, celebrated, and I think I posted on Instagram when he celebrated. But before that, he like screamed, and there was that kind of scream where when you want to just take something off your shoulders.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes along with what you guys were saying. Were we okay with a DP not scoring? He has, I think, done the work in a different way, but the fact that you're a DP, we want to see you score, right? So that scream was like kind of getting off his shoulders, and I think it's perfect that he got it off his shoulder this game so he can continue that next game, because I think this guy is definitely going to give us a lot more than we think. And under the tactical aspect with Pablo, I think Pablo is really learning how to use those players in there. Because if you think about it, that goal came because he was a little more central, right? And Sergi was a little more wide. And if you see the first half, Diego, Sergi, and Morgan are just constantly switching. You see Morgan on one side, you see Diego on the other side. So that is something that is absolutely amazing to see, because it makes it a lot harder for the defense to pinpoint the player where he's going to go and where he's going to run, because all three of them are just constantly changing. So it makes it a nightmare where you don't have just one target to cover.
Yeah, exactly. Because as a defense, right, like you try not to man mark, but in a way, like you have to man mark, right? Like you can play zones as much as you want, but like eventually at the end of the point, especially when there's a quick break of play like that, it's your instinct to mark a man right away, like, right? And so when players are rotating and switching like that, like Jimmy said, it's a nightmare. And so that has been very effective for RSL, and that the fact that their chemistry is so well already this early into the season of that rotation is phenomenal to see. But man, that ball by Diego to play that into, was it Morgan or Sergi who collected that ball from Diego?
For the Morgan goal?
So yeah, when Diego hits that switch, it's Sergi, and then Sergi just takes it right into the. I can't remember
Sergi
if Morgan
just drives it in, and then Morgan overlaps him to the side.
Got it. I couldn't remember if Morgan got the pass and then passed it to Sergi and then made the run in towards the box, or if that was straight to Sergi and Sergi just took it. But regardless of however it happened, it was a fantastic hit by Diego to get that, to propel that attack. And then Sergi obviously holds onto the ball a lot longer than I was expecting, to the point where, David, I was kind of like, too, I was like, all right, at this point, you almost have held onto it for too long. It's like, take the shot. Like, just take the shot now, right? But then he obviously plays it to Morgan. Okay, now I'm going to say this, and I don't want to be the party pooper on this goal, because this is Morgan Gilavogi's goal. It got credited to him. But every RSL fan should be very thankful to the sideline ref that he decided to keep his flag down instead of keeping his flag up. Because what I will say with this is one of those calls, and we didn't have a great angle of it on TV, but just from what I've seen in MLS and how things are usually ref and how it happened in this game, if the fact that he didn't raise his flag and they kept it a goal on the VAR, I think is correct. So that's why I think it's good that Morgan got his goal and that it happened. But if the referee raised his flag and they showed the replay, I would have understood why they would have kept it as an offside call if the referee would have raised his flag, because he does look a little bit offside from the view that we get. But again, they might have a different angle that we don't have on the TV, and maybe that's what made them confirm that he was on. But I just think we were a little fortunate in that case, if we're just going off of the angles that we saw on the broadcast, that the referee kept his flag down. But I think that's good. I think VAR was fantastic this game. This is exactly, in my opinion, what VAR should have done. All the reviews were very quick. It looked like anything that wasn't clear and obvious right away, I felt like they just kind of said, okay, like goal or not goal or whatever the different calls were. So I think I don't know, David, was there something I'm missing where they took a while on a call?
Did they take a while to review the penalty? I don't know. I was in the stadium and I just thought that they took a long time to review it. And I know there was probably, I didn't listen to the broadcast. I don't know if they were looking at both things, like the Yedlin.
Yeah, they were looking at two.
And
yep,
they So that's why it took
Yep.
a long time. But I was like, that is something that I was like, that took a while. And I'm surprised that the center referee didn't go over to the monitor to actually look for it. Because if it takes like that long, it was a good, I think, 2 minutes at least. I'm like, you got to look at it if it takes that long. But that's the only thing. I think your points are valid, LD. But I will say
Yeah.
that penalty took a little bit to review.
Yeah, I think the length of it was because they were reviewing the Yedlin interaction, right? That happened on the field, or not the interaction, but the play that happened. So, like, I think they had to first make sure that there was nothing crazy with that, and then they went on to the PK. And I think they said that on the broadcast. They said, like, they just got done checking the Yedlin one. Everything's good to go there. Now they're checking the penalty right now. And I know there was a lot of, like, controversy around the penalty, and, like, great, okay. We also probably, again, it was kind of controversial, I think, Morgan's goal, but like I think it should have counted as a goal. I just think that, like, to say that there wasn't controversy in just the penalty for San Diego would be a little bit too, like, home biased, right? Like, if you're looking from a neutral perspective, like, there definitely were some calls on our end that favored us, and there were some calls on their end that favored them. But I just think the way that VAR handled things this game went really well, in my opinion, compared to a lot of other games where it's like we're just sitting there forever and they're taking forever. And it's like, okay, if it's taking this long, it's not clear and obvious. And then after they finally are like, okay, now let's send the ref to the screen. It's like we've wasted like 5 to 7 minutes on this now. So I just thought it was handled pretty well for the most part this game.
University of Utah fans, we have fresh new gear for you to elevate your game day and everyday style. Check out brothersforlife.com. That's brothers, F-O-R-E, life.com, where you will find the freshest, officially licensed U of U merchandise. The Blackhawk collection is a dope accessory for fans, alumni, and athletes who rep the U with pride. The design blends iconic U of U branding with a distinctive Brothers for Life aesthetic, making them a standout addition to any Utah fans' collection. BFL Promotions can also assist you in creating custom-made products for your brand or an upcoming event. BFL Promotions is your one-stop shop for a vast array of promotional products and business gifts. Their extensive offering of products will ensure that you find the apparel, bags, drinkware, awards, and much, much more to help you promote your brand. Check them out today at brothersforelife.com and see why so many people use BFL Promotions to show up and to stand out.
If you're sourcing inventory for TikTok, Whatnot, eBay, or Amazon, Titanic Sales was built for you. We specialize in closeouts, overstock, and opportunity buys on name brand products. In this market, sourcing is everything. Titanic Sales brings you the deals that haven't been picked over, with pricing that leaves real profit on the table. Whether you're testing new products or are ready to scale, we provide a consistent flow of inventory across dozens of categories. Buy smarter, turn faster, and maximize your margin with Titanic Sales. To learn more, call Kevo today at 801-860-8061. Again, the number to call for amazing deals on a wide variety of inventory is 801-860-8061. Titanic Sales. Big inventory, bigger margins.
No, I agree. And the other offside call is like Sergi Salon's second goal. I don't know. I was a little bit back as well, but I was like, that might be off as well. That was like very close to the line. Both of these goals were really like another even split second, and you could probably call both times that RSL players were offsides. But we get to the half 4-1. Honestly, that was amazing. I thought that first, I'm happy Morgan has his goal. I was going into this as, I hope to see substitutes, right? We have 3 games in 7 matches, or 3 games in 7 days. We need to make sure that we get all our players rested. However, and there are some plays that go on. I'm kind of just going to fast forward. I do think we started the second half a little bit hot as well. We did have a couple of opportunities coming out of the half, but we did have that penalty, okay? So I do want to talk to you boys about it. Yedlin goes on the ground. I think there was some hard contact made with Yedlin. Like, that's what I'm seeing right now. There was some hard contact for Yedlin. And then you have the play continuing. And again, we didn't have the best angle, but from what I heard the commentators say, it seems like, I believe it was Morgan who went down in the box again. It was Andres Dwyer. Like, he plays himself into Glad almost. Like Glad's not overbearing, but like he's getting his legs in front of Glad and then going down. I would say kind of easy, but Jimmy, I want to hear your thoughts first and then a little bit of LD because we already got some of his. But how do you feel about that penalty that was rewarded to San Diego?
So I was in the opposite side of the field, and so if Yelling is running, I'm looking at his back, right, as he's running back to defend. And it looked like a clear foul from my view from Yelling, because it looks like this guy kind of just trips him and falls over, and Yelling falls. And it looks like you said, a pretty hard contact on it. So I was for sure they were reviewing that for a red at first, because it seems like he didn't grab no ball. He just basically grabbed him from the back and throw his foot on his foot and trip him. And again, that's where it comes to controversial, because then it ended up being a PK. So how do I feel about it? I think I agree with ALD. I think the VAR did his job and they reviewed both, and that was something that we didn't see, and the calls were made correctly. But if you ask me as a fan, I think the PK was a little soft too, because like you said, he's looking for that contact.
Yeah, I have a still frame, and it really is. You see Andres just put his foot in front of both Justin Glad's feet, right? So Justin Glad is running, right? And you just like put his right foot in front of him, and then like goes down. I'm like, well, where is Justin Glad supposed to go? He's running with momentum. He can't just stop because you just put your leg in front of him. So that's where I feel that it was a soft penalty call. But overall, 4-2, they convert the goal. And I believe this is our first penalty against us this season. We haven't had a penalty awarded, so we've been kind of actually pretty lucky not getting a penalty against us so far, and kind of unlucky not getting one for us so far. But any last thoughts on it, LD? I know that VAR did take a while to look at this play, but I will say that I just don't know why the center ref didn't go and actually take a look for himself.
Yeah, like I said, I think it was one of those things where like they just wanted to keep the game moving, right? And it very much looked like if there wasn't a reason to change the call because something clear and obvious was missed, they weren't going to bother to have the ref go and look at it. And I think that's what you saw on Sergi Solan's possible offside goal, which in my opinion he wasn't. I think he was fine. I think it was close, but I think he was fine. And then again on Morgan Guilavogi's goal, that could have been potentially offside, which had I think more of an opportunity to be switched, but it wasn't because I don't think they thought it was clear enough. And then again, from this standpoint, the PK or not the PK, the foul on Yedlin, I'm kind of iffy about. But as far as the PK, the ref called it a PK. If you look at the backside angle, I think that's what was the detriment to Glad, because I mean, it was a professional move by Dyer, right? There's a reason that he's as good of a player he is for San Diego. He knows how to make a situation happen for him in the box, even if that means drawing a penalty. Like you could tell that was an experienced play that he did to put himself into Glad to make any type of contact happen. And most of the time, if a defender makes a contact with a player and that player goes down, the ref's going to call a PK. And so I think he just made a really good play. I do think it was unfair to Glad because you could see Dyer definitely put his body into Glad. It wasn't Glad going out of his way to make that contact with him. But I think, because of that backside angle, you could see the contact hit his leg from the back and it kind of takes his feet from under him, even though Dyer kind of sells it because he knows what he's doing. I just think at that point, you have to call that penalty as a ref. And then the VAR probably saw that and said, you know what, like there's enough there for us to understand why the ref called that. And we're not even going to bother to waste time on this because we think the ref will just kind of go with what he saw on the field because that contact is there that you can see from the backside angle, even though if it wasn't as advertent as the ref made it seem like in his call towards Glad. So that's kind of just my thoughts on it. But like at the end of the day, you're up 4-1. They get a penalty, even if they put it in the back of the net, a good team should still be able to put this team away, right? So that's why like we have to go through these situations, I think, and this adversity during games because it can't just be easy for us the whole time. And I think it was a good way to show that like we were able to continue to put our stamp on this game of coming out with the 3 points, even though we had a little bit of that adversity occur.
No, of course. And right after the penalty and that it was 4-2, we get the substitutions. Sam Junka comes on, Aiden Hazard-Khani comes on, Griffin Dillon comes on in the 70th minute with Victor Olatunji. And then Zach Booth comes on at the 8th. really, Real Salt didn't make that many chances in the last 27 minutes because I believe it was like 7 minutes of stoppage time. But it was the Rafael show there on out. That man did some fantastic saves to really not make this as nervy as a game in the final minutes, because if San Diego scores one more and it's 4-3, then you wouldn't put it past them to tie it up 4-4. So Rafael Cabral did amazing in the last 20 minutes to really show this game out, and that we didn't really have that pressure and we could put in a Zach Booth, and Victor Olatunji could get some minutes while resting Sergi, and really seeing this game through for a good home win. Any final thoughts, Jimmy, on this 4-2 win over San Diego?
I'll say what everyone said. The coach and the players that Fred, I agree with them. It was good, but not satisfying.
Okay. Why do you think it's not satisfying for the players?
Well, based on what they said is like they were fatigued for the 2-week break. Second, they were getting into the momentum again. So it's good. Players like Sergi Solana also explained that they had a chance to had a hat trick earlier on in the game, but they either shot it right at the keeper or didn't have, or those quick moments that could change the game are not allowed them to score. You have Alex Catranis, who has the heart of a warrior. He's always messing, like interacting with the crowd, having everyone going. But at the same time, I think the game could have been killed. And if, again, with what Pablo said, if we want RSL to win trophies, they have to kill those games. And if Rafa Cabral will have not made those 2 saves, like you said, I'm pretty sure San Diego would have tied it, and then everything we did good at the first half wouldn't be here talking. Yeah, it goes to waste. So if we want the team to play as good as they're playing, they have to kill the games, and that has been our weakness, I think, from past seasons. We play good, we score, we have a momentum, and then something happens where we don't kill the games, and it ends at us hurting us at the end. So, again, I think the players know that, and that's why they said that it was good but not satisfied. And as a fan, I think I will also be with the players. It was a good performance by them, but they could have done a little bit more. Even the subs.
Yeah, well said. And I think we already talked about it. The subs didn't have a great impact on this game, for sure. Like Victor, I don't think had any chances. I would have to double check, but he didn't really. I would say Griffin Dillon played solid for the time he was there, and Sam Junqua, he did well. As you didn't really call out his name a ton, which is great for a defender, but really the attacking players that came in, like Aiden and Zach, didn't really generate any sparks. So LD, any final thoughts on this San Diego game?
Yeah, I mean, to your point about Victor, I think Victor did what he needed to do when you're up 4-2 and you're trying to just go out there with the win, right? He was keeping the defense busy. I think they kept fouling him, to be honest, in those air balls where they basically were just like, we're just going to send it up to Victor. He basically put his back up to the center back, found out a way to get him to foul, right? And then we get possession higher up the field, right? More time to waste. So I actually think Victor did pretty decent. I would have liked to see him do better with some of and then waste time to be able to get up the field and set up a set piece. Noel Caliscan and Stein Spearings, dude, they balled out this game. Like the way, how comfortable they are, they remind me of kind of like a yo-yo effect with the midfield. Like either of them can go up or down, and the way that they can just pivot and drop back and provide like an outlet for the goalie or for any of the center backs, as well as being able to help shield that back line. Like they are just such an awesome pairing. If they keep playing like this, that's going to be a hard pairing to break up. Like I'm all for Griffin Dillon getting minutes. I'm all for Luca Moisa getting his minutes when it's available. I'm all for a Meccanelli coming back eventually and trying to get his opportunity to come back on the field. But man, Noel Caliscan and Stein Spearings, man, that is a solid midfield to have, especially with how much attack we have up front. We don't need them to do too much right now. So I think they're doing amazing with being able to provide stability to the game right in the center of the pitch. That was awesome. Rafa Cabral, amazing. Alex Catranis, dude, listen, Sanabria, he's a tier above Alex. I don't think that's crazy for me to say. I think we all know that. But Alex Catranis comes on and it's like there's no worry. Like he is doing what he needs to do. He brings what Jimmy says, that passion and that fierce warriorness to the game, which I love. And then I love having that player that gets the fan base involved. Like throwing their hands up, getting them going. Like, it's true. Like, they're even though they're up 2 goals, I get a little annoyed about how early fans leave sometimes before the game's over. It just doesn't look great. I know you got to do it because whether it's you're trying to get home or you don't want to have to deal with traffic and all that. But like, I just think sometimes these players work so hard, and it's our money that we're spending, so we can do whatever the freak we want, to be honest. But like, I would just love that stadium to stay filled and give that like applause when the whistle blows for such a good work shift that those players put in and such a good performance that they put in. But regardless, with the fans that were still there, he was getting them involved and telling them to cheer for them as they were shutting that game off. So I just think like there's so many things that you can do with this team right now to be able to give people their flowers and give people their shout outs. We don't have enough time to keep covering it on this podcast because we got to get going and we have plenty more to cover this week. But I just wanted to throw in those little tidbits because there's just so much good happening around the squad right now. And man, that was such a damn fun game to watch last night.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say one of the players that I know that he committed a penalty, but I think Jade Glad was very solid. And I think that he probably loves this new formation because you see him less on an island than ever before. Like there was so many times last year that I'll say it, our right backs were not the best until we got Yedlin, but we had Yedlin 8 games in the last part of the season, and Glad was on an island. So I like that this formation really does help Justin Glad be more solid. And again, like you said, Noel Caliscan upgraded. I don't know what he did this offseason. He totally upgraded. He looks like a great MLS midfielder, and we win 4-2 over San Diego. And I believe that puts us 5th in the Western Conference standings, which is actually a good position. You can see that it's like separating, like I said earlier this podcast, to like the elite, the mixed bag of tricks, and the see you next year, fire your head coach, and I don't know, pray to the soccer gods that a new ownership comes. I don't know. Like Sporting Kansas City and St. Louis, they're not having a great year. But overall, we're not going to preview the Inter Miami game. That is for other people to do. Hayden, okay? You better do that. But I did want to talk about Real Monarchs. Before I get to that, though, LD, anything to say?
Yeah, I was just, you said that we're 5th in the standings, which is true. That's accurate, but it's off goal differential. So we're actually tied for 3rd right now. We're on the same points as, I can't remember who the other 2 teams are ahead of us right now. Seattle and who's the other team?
LAFC, maybe now?
Is it LAFC? I thought they were 2nd. No, Vancouver's 1st, and they played a game ahead of most of us.
San Jose's 2nd. That's a surprise.
San Jose's 2nd. And them and LAFC are playing right now, or they already played? I can't remember.
They already played, and San Jose beat them 4-1 in LA.
Okay. Wow.
I'm
amazed.
So we're tied for 3rd place with LAFC at Seattle.
Yeah, and it's off goal differential. Now that's where the one like I guess critical part of this could be is like our defense does need to be better at like let's get a clean sheet, please. Like I get it, we're scoring a lot of goals, and as long as we're scoring this many amount of goals, like we can get scored on and still be fine. But like I just want to see us like nag a clean sheet just so the team knows that they can do it. They can play a game without allowing a goal scored on them. So like that's a little bit of the critique there. Also, if you keep less goals in the back of the net, our goal differential is higher, which would put us above like those LAFC and Sounder teams right now. But like all things considered, I'm being nitpicky. I think we can be happy with where we're at right now.
Want to say this though, because I just looked it up. LA got 6 goals just against Orlando. So if you minus those 6 goals, we're ahead of them, right?
Gotcha.
So
yeah.
I wish we play Orlando at home. I think that would be a great game. I think we would blow them out probably like 4-0 in this form. I'm not going to predict later on in the season.
Maybe we'll do it to another Florida team at home instead this week.
Yeah. If we beat them 6-0, I would be very surprised, but
we'll talk about that tomorrow,
we'll get to that. Yeah. Definitely on a separate episode. I did want to talk about Real Monarchs for a little bit. They are struggling. They started the season strong. I believe they got a loss or a tie last week. They did play through the international break, but they lose to Houston Dynamo 2 today. I didn't watch the game. I kind of watched some highlights of it. I know that Max Kirkley had a great save. One big news for Real Salt Lake is Jesus Barea. He mainly plays for the Monarchs, but also almost had his MLS debut goal against Sporting Kansas City. But Jesus Pereira got a knock. He announced it on Instagram. The team hasn't announced anything yet other than he was on the injury report, but it looks like he's going to be out for a while. So it is, I would say, hesitant. I was a little hesitant when Ari Piol was out and they shipped Marcus Zambrano to New England. Jesus Pereira going out as well. Thank God we have Sergi. That's all I'm going to say. Thank God we have Sergi and Victor. But without those two, or if one of those get injured, again, I think that we don't have a deep enough bench on the attacking half as we would like. And that's something to look forward to in the summer window. Do you have any thoughts, Jimmy? I know you were there at that practice, but anything about like our attacking side of the bench?
So Pablo, so that day that we had this scrimmage, there were some Monarch players, and there was Pablo talked about a guy, and I'm forgetting his name, but he's kind of like a striker too. And he said now
Is it Linker Rodriguez?
Linker, yes. So he actually scored 2 goals, and he played pretty much all 80 minutes, and they switched this guy from one team to another. So he played on both sides of the field, right? Of the teams, I guess if you can say it. And Pablo was impressed with Linker, and he said that now with the injury that came out with Jesus Barea, this could be a good chance for Linker, So I think we can see him coming on. But again, you have Sergi who's killing it. Victor is coming back. I'm not worried that Victor will make an impact again soon, based on like the caliber of play that we saw him being. And you have guys like Monarchs, which continues to develop the team. Go ahead, LD.
But what I was going to say was, like, if Sanabria comes back and we're good with Sanabria, right? Like, why not have Sanabria on one side, Alex on the left, or you could put Sam Junka in there on one of the sides, and then you could throw Gozo up top so like there's a lot of variability outside of like who's the quote unquote strikers on this team right now, right? A lot of variability, even like from using Gozo to a standpoint. So I think there's plenty of things that we can tweak if there's players going down, which is the exciting thing.
Actually, I saw some criticism on Twitter about where we're playing Gozo. There were some national pundits that were like, they're wasting him as a right wing back. He should be a right winger, and it's working, right? But if we do need to make a switch because we're having some attackers with injuries, I could definitely see what LD sees and Gozo goes up. He's even played the number 9 before. He played that in preseason for a couple of games. So I wouldn't be surprised. Going back to the Monarchs, this went like from Real Monarchs talk back to, Real Salt Lake talk, which Matty Casey he's going to unfollow us just by that fact alone. But they do lose to Houston Dynamo 2. And really, because I didn't watch the game, I don't know too much. I know Riquelme is still doing really good. I would say he is going to be the next like young guy that's going to bring a lot of European attention. And Moisa is now playing for the Real Monarchs, which is the position that he probably should be in to get more minutes. I know we didn't see him on the bench, but I'd rather him playing 90 minutes on Sunday than being on the bench Saturday night. So that's all I have for Real Monarchs. That's really all we have for this episode, as we're going to preview the greatest of all time coming to Utah in another episode. So LD, Jimmy, any final thoughts before I let the audience go and they can continue to listen to people that have actual good opinions?
No, David, thanks so much for doing this. Jimmy, thanks so much for coming out, man. Always loving having you on the podcast. You're always welcome, right? Even if we record during the week. I know you're a busy dude, but this podcast always gets a spike in its energy when you're on an episode. So it was awesome having you today, dude.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. I don't know what's wrong with my camera. I already tried to reset it a couple times. It's not working anymore. But I appreciate being here, and I love being here. So the little free time that I have, I jump in every now and then. But no, yeah, David, you're doing great. It's always a pleasure talking to you. So thanks for having me, and it's been fun.
All right, thanks, guys. Honestly, sorry for the jab too. You guys have great opinions. I think we analyzed that game very well. Like, subscribe to Royal Riot, follow us. We are going to have another episode soon before the Inter Miami game, and we'll have plenty to talk about after the Inter Miami game. But for all the RSL fans, have a great day and continue sporting RSL. Thank you guys. Bye.